have episode number 5 of Andor just dropped, and it was the most uncomfortable episode of most things, next to maybe Scott's tots. So we're gonna jump into that and talk about everything that was popping off, and then anything else that's going on in the world of Star Wars, at the moment. But yeah, we're gonna get into that right now and right here on the high ground. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the high ground. I'm excited because I have two brand new guests, one returning, but the one that's returning, for some reason, something goes wrong every time they come on, and I think we're gonna do. I don't believe it's their fault, but I'm just saying there's a trend. Um, Sorry, Claudia, I love you. Anyhow, we're gonna go around, have everyone introduce themselves, and so you can let us know who you are, where we can find your awesome content, and then I was talking on Twitter, and I just kind of pitched my idea for a new Star Wars show where I want it to go like I want it to be anthology, but it's masters and apprentices throughout time. So like episode 1 could be would be Ezra and Kanan together, and then episode 2 we go one step backwards. So we get Kanan and Depa Billaba, and then we get Mace Windu and Depa Billaba, and then we get and we just kind of go. We can go back as far as we want and see kind of how they influenced the past. And I do it backwards so that you always know one of the characters. We don't start with a bunch of strange people in a strange time. But I don't know. I thought that was a cool idea. I will also have you guys pitch, whatever type of animated show you would put in the Star Wars if you had Kathleen Kennedy's green light button. Hopefully that's not too much pressure, but we'll start with Allie.
All right. My name's Allison. You can find me on TikTok at Allison of Dathomir. It's just that same little thing. This is my cat. Anyone who has cats knows that if you're on any sort of Zoom or camera phone call, they will be there. He might sit in his little Grogu pram bed here.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's very cute. If he'll do it, he might do it for us. But anyways, so yeah, I'm mostly on TikTok. I have a link tree in my bio if you want to follow me anywhere else, but my Star Wars stuff is mainly on TikTok. As far as a show I'd like to see, I think this maybe doesn't count as necessarily an animated show, but it's animated adjacent, I would say. And I think that I've talked about this before, but I would love like an RPG that's styled like the Jedi series that we're seeing now with Cal Kestis, so like Fallen Order, but following Rey as she sort of like finds a lot of like Luke's old artifacts and old artifacts of the Jedi, sort of goes more on a Force journey. I have always thought that would be super cool and a really cool way to continue Rey's story, but without like, making it this major canonical thing. So that would be my like one wish if I was on Kathleen's payroll, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want some more Rise of Skywalker content. The Lego stuff is great. Don't get me wrong, but like, give me some real stuff. Like, why is the Lego stuff some of the best stuff coming out in any genre?
I would love to know.
How about you, Sog?
Okay, Star Wars Sog. I mainly do filters, and I'm on TikTok at SW_Sog. And yeah, if I have to pitch any show, it would be, I'm a huge Thrawn fanboy, so I would love the first Thrawn canonical book as a show to show the other side of Thrawn that we don't really see in Rebels.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That is a good one. And I mean, we also get to see a side of Arenda Price in that book that we don't get to see on Rebels. And I still laugh about it because if you haven't read the book, at one point she gets framed because they spray her with drugs. Like, I don't think that's how it works. You don't just like pocket sand, like, I don't know, it was weird. But awesome. And how about you, Claudia? And anyone in the chat, feel free to throw out what your animated pitches are. Looks like there's a couple of them, but yeah, keep them coming. But yeah, last but not least, Claudia.
Hi, my name is Claudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on all social media. I'm on Twitter and TikTok mostly at Kaludia Says. It's Kaludia Says. I'm one of the co-hosts of RuPaul's Pod Race. If you don't know, now you know. We cover Star Wars every week. We're really big High Republic fans. We're really big Thrawn fans. So true. I would love to also see Eli Vanto on screen. We're just a fun little podcast where we like talk about the latest releases and then we play like very stupid little games that make my brain hurt. But yeah, you can find links to all that on my social media. There's the link trees and all that jazz. If I could do a Star Wars show, I mean, it's gonna be anything. We're already getting a lot of stuff with the High Republic, so I'm going to say the Chiss Ascendancy. I'm going to say something with the Chiss Ascendancy because I need to see Aralani on screen. But that's just me. That's just my, Eli Vanto and the Chiss Ascendancy is what I want to see. I think it would be very very slay.
We can't put Aralani on screen because there's too much thirst in Star Wars already. And Mama Aralani is, I will say the RuPaul's Pod Race has kind of ruined my brain in a couple different ways. Like we were playing this type of like Star Wars Pictionary, and they're drawing, and I can't think of the name, and I was like, the Thrawn's gay little cowboy, like.
No.
That's all I could think of, and I was like, I blame RuPaul's. I feel like that they put that in my head.
We do modify people's vocabulary quite a lot.
Awesome. And it looks like we got a lot of people in the chat as well. So we got St. Pat saying an animated Chuchi show. That would be dope. I'm definitely down for that. Give us a Gunji show. I don't know if everyone saw the video, but I got this as a gift, and it's Gunji's lightsaber, and it is beautiful. Look at it. Look at it. It feels so good in the hand as well. So, yeah. The beautifully crafted box. No, it's just the hilt, and it's kind of created in a way where I wouldn't be able to insert any electronics in, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. Let's see here. So Galactic Mermaid does want the animated High Republic. There's just so many aliens that live action wouldn't do it justice. I fully agree. I think on the live action side, it's hard to get these aliens to like emote and stuff like that properly. I think looking at the Pikes on Book of Boba Fett was a great example of this. They were somewhat terrifying. Although I will say Black Chrysanthemum did a great job of it. Let's see here. And then I have Zell saying, where's my Old Republic show? That would definitely be a banger. But all right. How's everyone feeling? We just got episode 5 of Andor dropped, and I'm curious just to open it up how you guys feel.
This show bangs. I was like, yeah, I like this because I like Star Wars, but also like I've been fall TV season has been like really stacked, and I review a lot of TV, and like I've been watching a lot of TV. Also, I've been watching a lot of anime, but that's beside the point. And I've just been watching a lot of TV, and so then I'm like dipping back into Star Wars, and I'm like, oh, just even as a regular TV show, this show bangs. And I'm not used to that. Oh, this is. And I'm like, I don't like being one of those people who's like, I think it's better than the rest of Star Wars, because like there's something to love and everything, and I also think like don't insult my girl Rebels like that, but like there's something about watching it where I'm like, oh, it feels so. It's not like it feels so expensive, first of all, but it also feels. Oh, apparently my volume is all messed up. Is this better? Can you hear me
I mean,
That's fine.
getting closer helped. I was like slowly nudging you up on my little thing here, but
I didn't want it to like get all fucked up, but let me know if this is any better.
oh,
Anyways, yeah.
question: could that possibly be a side address mic that you're talking in the front of?
Not sure. I don't think so. It's cardioid.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was an issue, but it's not. Is this better? It sounds loud to me, but it's not.
It is a little louder. I can hear you just fine. We'll we'll keep rolling with it.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah. How about you guys? What are you thinking of the show so far?
It's been really like we were talking a little bit before we started, but it's very like it's kind of uncomfortable to sit with a lot of the feelings with these characters. And it's not like, oh, whenever we go to like Mon Mothma, all of a sudden it becomes uncomfortable. And then, we go to Andor and the crew and it's a little uncomfortable. It's like literally every moment has these super uncomfy feelings that you just kind of have to sit in. And I think that they're doing a really good job of like kind of making you feel sort of melancholy and relate to these characters that you probably don't even want to like relate to or feel any sympathy to, which is really interesting. And also sort of making you like, you're like, is Mon Mothma as good as maybe I thought she was? Or like she has her flaws and so does, Andor. So do, the people we consider the heroes. So it's sort of really interesting in the sense that it's kind of making you sit with that.
Yeah, that part hit me hard because when you get the conversation with her and Perrin in the last episode, you're like, well, Perrin just sucks. Like that's obvious. But in this episode with the daughter, you're like, well, maybe she's becomes everyone in the galaxy's mom and doesn't have enough time for her family. We're kind of unraveling those things, so that's really cool as well. How about you, Sog?
Honestly, seeing all those different family moments was very relatable. And also, to back up on the fact of it being uncomfortable, when I was listening in on the family discussion at the breakfast table, I was just like, should I leave? Like, are you guys gonna be having your moment? Like, maybe I should
No,
walk
that was
away for a bit.
painful. As someone who has gone through some things with my own family, I was like, hey, I got a Star Wars escape. Can we not? Like, damn. I was like, damn. Like, this is so uncomfortable. Jesus.
I was like, it's like Arrested Development, but without it being funny.
Succession, which is basically Arrested Development if it wasn't funny.
Yeah, although I will say it was cool to see someone with blue milk, eating oops all berries. He was like the cereal. I swear that was just Captain Crunch that he was eating, and so that it felt relatable.
100%. It was just Captain Crunch. They or like Trix maybe. It just looked like really a cereal we have here on Earth. 100%. Like,
yeah. They even made a cereal once that turned your milk blue.
Could you try again?
Yeah, that you don't even need that in this universe. Like, blue milk comes pre-made.
And that's also one other just commonality between, and maybe that's intentional because I'm pretty sure all of them throughout all of the different sides were drinking milk at some point in time. Am I crazy?
Yeah, no, I think they were. It was weird because like the whole time I was like, oh, Percy Jackson moment, like he's having blue Cocoa Puffs and blue milk or whatever. But then I was like, wait, they drink blue milk all the time in Star Wars. Why is it always a color? I don't know.
It's following the like theme of just like any food in Star Wars is just like a regular food, but just like blue. Like the blue spaghetti, the blue cookies, the blue milk.
Yeah.
Now we have the blue cereal to add to our ever-growing list.
It's like in the Adventure Zone when they're like, it's Fantasy Costco. They just put fantasy in front of it and then they call it a Like, you know what? I respect that.
Star Wars also does that with names. Like there's normal like Earth names just spelled with a little twist, like Tim with an extra M.
The best part is when you listen to a Star Wars audiobook and you're like, that's a normal ass name, and then you like look it up on Wikipedia and you're like, oh, it's spelled in the most fucked up way.
It's like all the Wookiees, how they have to have at least like 4 Y's in their name, otherwise like it's not happening. Or R's, the R's and the Y's.
That's exactly why I love the audiobooks because Mark Thompson growls like a Wookiee and then says the word in the middle. So he's like, hello, how are you doing? And you're like, this is weird, but like I can't not listen to it. I think that the one that took me out the most though is in the High Republic. There's a Master Douglas, and I was like, Douglas, come on, like Master Doug. I don't know.
No wonder Reese is like that. Well, is it Reese or is it Ram? Is Jedi Master Douglas Sunvale?
That was Emery's original master.
Oh my god, I'm mixing up a little guy.
I will say your mic is starting to sound a little muffled. I don't know what's going on with it.
Oh, okay. Is this better?
Yes, that is better.
Okay. This has happened to me many times.
No worries. We this is what we just do it live. All right, so speaking of these uncomfortable conversations, we were talking about the breakfast with Cyril and his mom. What do you guys think of Cyril's mom?
She's killing it. I mean, maybe I'd be like, damn, I'm so critical of him, but also like he was a cop, so she's killing it.
Yeah, he was kind of who I was talking about when I was like, it's kind of making you sympathize with like someone you don't want to sympathize with, because I think for me it's kind of like seeing the interactions between him and his mom. I was like, I kind of get why you are doing the things you're doing, because I feel like he's in an environment where she's just never proud of him or like satisfied with what he's done, and so he feels like he has to prove something. And I feel like that is a huge theme in Star Wars, is sometimes people obtain power just to prove a point, not for any particular reason. And I think that him still looking at like his hologram of Cassian is just kind of like, he wants to find Cassian to like prove something to himself and to everyone else, not because he actually thinks that Andor is some like cold-blooded killer or anything like that. But yeah, it kind of was revealing for why he is the way he is.
I like that. I like that a lot. I didn't quite put it together like that, but that makes perfect sense. I mean, when she walks up and she's like, "You're slouching," like maybe you got fired because you're slouching. You're like, Jesus,
and you're like, ma'am, you should have seen him. He was standing so straight. It was ridiculous.
It's almost like the inverse of like when they're like, oh, everyone has their own rebellion thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, everyone has their own reason for signing up for the Empire. Like, which is, some people are just fucking petty. Some people are not there. Some people, you know what I mean? It's like a weird inverse.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
Sorry. If you think about it, it also shows how much he went through just to finally like realize that he has to go back home, and like how low he must have hit to finally like face his mother and be like, okay, I know you're not going to be proud of me, but you're the only place I got.
Yeah. Rashad says, isn't she the same actress who plays one of the overbearing aunts in My Big Fat Greek Wedding? I don't know, but she gave me those vibes for sure. He comes in, she just slaps him. I also like how he's in like his childhood bedroom, or I don't know if it's childhood, but he has like action figures and stuff still up, and I was like, he's a fan of Star Wars inside of Star Wars, like.
But you have, but it's a weird thing, because you have Cassian and his little his little bantha squishmallow, and then you have Cyril who's got his little action figures, and like we couldn't really see what they were, but I think they were stormtroopers, or maybe one of them's even Death Trooper, kind of like the toy that Jin has at the beginning of Rogue One. And it's very interesting to see the two juxtaposition. I'm like, oh my god, he lost his job and he has nerdy little action figures. He's just like me for real.
It's also odd that, like, because to me it did look like a stormtrooper as well, like from what I could see of it. And like you're saying, like with Jen's toy, that's such a good point that I hadn't thought of. But like, what? Like, it would be so weird in our universe if we had like FBI agent like like action figures and like stuffed animals that we played with, like, or that we had as kids.
We kind of do. We have GI Joes, and we have
Yeah.
like
Little Green Army Men, I guess, are kind of the
Little Green
blueprint for that.
Army
Okay.
Men, GI Joes.
Maybe
Like,
it's not as weird as I thought. It's still a little weird, but we do it anyways. Okay.
so like
I
Cassian
mean-
was a Squishmallow kid, and he is a GI Joe kid. Like, and none of them ever grew up. It seems.
Also, Anakin was like a hero during the war, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if there was Anakin action figures or other Clone Wars heroes in the world as well.
It's possible. Well, I will say that they probably stopped making Jedi toys pretty soon after Order 66, or maybe
Forgot.
they do have them, and you just have your toy clone troopers.
Maybe it's like the
Never
old like
mind.
Kenner action figures from the 70s, like they're out of production, but now they're worth like thousands of dollars, your Anakin Skywalker action figure
condition.
that's propaganda now.
Yeah. All right. So moving forward, we then jump into the forest, and now I can't think of the character's name, but yeah, he's just shirtless, rummaging through all of Andor's stuff.
From Bear. What is his name?
It's like Skier?
Isn't what Skeen?
It's very
Skeen,
close to
Skeen.
Skeen, yes.
I think so. Yeah, Skeen.
Yeah. What do you think of like his interactions with Andor, and like what are you doing? Why is your shirt off? What's happening? Put my stuff away. But really quick, there's a quick note to the tattoos that he has. One of them he said was a crate head, and then on the arm he said by the hand. And I didn't recognize these. I just kind of felt like I think these are just prison tattoos.
I saw somebody say that the hand might be a reference to the Hand of Thrawn from like, and they might be bringing all that shit in with the Ahsoka show, whatever. But to me, I went the path of the open hand. I was like, what?
It's
You want to deep?
too soon, but I would love that. For those
Murderow Queen, I know that's you.
yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, we have the next phase of the High Republic just dropped, and yes, I have finished Path of Deceit, and yeah, there's some good stuff. If you're a High Republic fan, definitely hop on it. It is. I wasn't sure how this was going to be connected to Phase 1, and then the first book was like, no, it's very, very relevant to what they're experiencing. Here's a disgusting pet. Don't keep it away from your Jedi friends. Anyways, we have yeah, I mean, going back to this conversation, like they want to kill each other. Like I don't know, how do you guys feel about this whole group of rebels that we have?
Last week, I think, after the last episode, or whenever the episode came out, where Andor sort of talks about how he could have potentially run into Han Solo in the timeline, when everyone was having that moment, I was like, they would hate each other because they would be like perfect mirrors of one another. And I think that's kind of what's happening here, is they know that they're like each other. And Andor, he even references this. He's like, you know who I am and you know what I'm about. And so they really connect with each other on that fundamental level of like, they've been through some shit, you know? But I think that the reason that they're butting heads is because they're so similar and they're sort of fighting for this hierarchical kind of moment in the group.
There's also
But
this thing because I was like, why would they want so much information on him? Like they work in intelligence, like they know their secrets, right? And my partner brought up a really good thing of like, this is still the early days of the rebellion, and so all of these little cells, they're operating on trust. They're operating on trust with each other, and then they've just brought in a person who they don't trust, and clearly they had to build trust with Lieutenant Gorn in stuff like that. Yeah, one of the commenters was like, "How do you read so fast?" I do audiobooks, but also I believe me and Choco also had the got ARCs of Path of Deceit as well, so we read some of those.
I actually didn't get an arc this time, but I got to jam through it. So
Oh my god, that's so
I'm
wrong.
unemployed, so
That's so wrong of them. But yeah, I think they don't. I think they trust each other, but they're like, we're still in this phase of like, and it's very much like kind of in the beginning of Rebels, where they're like, we know what we can do because we trust each other in our tiny little cell, and it takes a lot for us to reach out to other cells or to trust like a mercenary or something like that. And it takes a while for them to get to like system of fulcrums, Cassian, like being rebel intelligence, being an entire basically outfit of people, and that they know that like, you know, it's on a need to know basis that they like all work together. And it was kind of interesting to see that. I was like, oh, on the ground this is very still like shaky.
yeah.
But
Yeah, and also, I mean, they've been on. I mean, they've been camping for a long time, and I mean, you form some bonds on camping trips, like a kid at summer camp, and and then there's this new kid, but Cassian also won't say anything to indicate that he's down for the cause specifically, and I think that's one thing that I'm finding really interesting. It actually reminds me of one of the other canon books, which is Battlefront Twilight Company, where the leader of their little group, basically he's just a kid who's been in war after war after war, and that's all he's ever known. And so he actually doesn't care about the cause. This is just the latest in a long line, and this isn't the first one, and may not be the last one, and he's just there to fight. And it's easy to not trust someone if you aren't sure that they're willing to die for the cause. But at the same time, it's probably better to trust the person who has all of this experience in it, which is what he keeps showing throughout the episode of like, it's like y'all are ill prepared for for this stuff, and trust is a two-way street. I don't know.
I definitely feel like that he's just like, trust me, like I have all this experience, but trust me, like I'm here till the end. But it's like I understand their point of view where it's like they want them to have the need for the cause. Like if he had that drive, they know that he's willing to sacrifice everything at the end for the team. Right now, even him being a mercenary, I can see how there's distrust because you know that he values the money more than anything. And he says it himself. He's like, I'm here for the money. Like, so I can see where that comes from.
Yeah, definitely. But we also have the our little friend in the group, and again, everyone's name is just falling out of my brain. I want to say Merritt, and I know that's not it. Merrick? Is it Merrick?
Nemec?
Nemec?
Conrad Nemec, my
Nemec,
icon.
yeah.
Conrad Nemec is here's the Communist Manifesto.
I know, I thought the same thing. I was like, he wrote his own manifesto. I love that.
So
He's not gonna make it.
No.
He's not gonna make it.
I do fear that none of them are gonna make it because we're like, oh, we just heard a lot of their backstories and a lot of their fun little personalities, and this is a lot of foreshadowing. Even the mission itself to Rogue One, and I'm like, I have a My theory is this: they're all gonna die, and Cassian's gonna be the only one who survives, and then he joins the rebellion. Like he finally starts to believe or whatever. 'Cause he's like, wow, all these people like actually believe in this, whatever. Or he joins just like for them at first, because he's like, okay, I'll do it for them, and then he slowly starts to like believe. Anyway, that's my theory. Because I was like, we're learning way too much about these bitches. They're
Yeah.
all dying.
I kind of have wondered that though, like what is going to be that final, or maybe not a final, but what is going to make Andor commit to the rebellion in the like sense of, I'm not getting paid to do this, but like I have an investment in this. And I think that I really do think maybe they'll integrate the sister back in, but it's kind of interesting to think that it could be like these people, like he might get really attached to them, and then
Or he doesn't have to even be attached to them. Like he like this is kind of a wake up moment for him of like, oh, there's people who really give a shit. Oh, and then I think it's a lot like Jin, where she's like, I'm just here for whatever, and then like she's just met these people, she doesn't know them very well, and it's like, wow, these people really care, and then like, oh, I guess I'll do it for them, and then it ends up also being for the cause or whatever. Like it can almost be more philosophical than personal. At least I think that's cool. Or it might just be like a, how did I get here? I just keep going from mission to mission. Why am I staying? Kind of deal.
I definitely see that happening because Jin adopted her dad's cause, basically. So I can see him adopting this cause, and like that's how the transmission of the cause is.
Yeah, he adopted his dad's name. So yeah, that's a thing. No, you're right, because he's coming in here with Marshawn Lynch energy. I'm just here so I don't get fined. And Nemec is. I also agree. I think he's going down. Someone tweeted something that made me sad. Of like he's the archetype of the sweet, intelligent boy. He's Jesse on the first Fast and Furious movie. Like he's the guy who he's
him next to Bodhi Rook, and I was like, you see the same eyes in different people, and I was like, oh, that shit hurted. Stop. Oh God, Jesus.
Yeah, these people are just cool, just cool. We also had a couple more people in the crew. We didn't get much about Cinta, but I love her already. I think she's dope. And the thing I caught was, they said Cinta is she's already sharing a blanket, if that's what you're thinking. And then you're like, with who? It's clearly with Vel. And
a win is a win. I know they're all dying, but a win is a win.
Well, and then I was like, we were trying to figure out, okay, what would their couple name be? And then we're like, wait, Cinta Vale. And Cinta Vale is the name in Legends of Boba Fett's wife. Her name is Cinta's Vale. And I was like, that can't have been an accident, So they're even now they keep dropping little nuggets here, but
that seems like a Pablo original.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were talking about Nemec, I know my brain is always like, public, but also when he brings out the I'm assuming it's an engine, the hyperdrive or whatever. And he's like, yeah, we gotta learn like manual tech because in Imperial tech, like that's how they control us, and we have to whatever. And I was like, so true about cybersecurity, King. But then he brings out this thing, and I immediately like, is that a path drive? It's not a path drive, but I was like, it's very similar to in the High Republic when they had to like program in manual paths. I was like, hello. I got way too excited. I was like, a win is a win.
Yeah. I heard someone make a joke that like Neville would be the type of guy who like only listens to vinyl records and like because he doesn't like any of the modern technology. And I thought that was he's like a space hipster, and I love that for him.
He's like, are you guys all using VPN? You need to be using VPN, guys.
You know what? Let's Claudia, let's try some because let's see, some people are still pointing it out. So the side of the mic with the logo on it, can we try talking to that side? Is there one?
Hello. Is this any better? Does it sound different?
It sounds a little bit clearer. That's still
Okay.
a little.
Yeah, and I
but-
also like I can check with the volume a little bit. I don't know if it's like peaking. I don't know if it's peaking out or if it's just really quiet.
It might be peaking.
Oh, here, let me see. I can fix that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know it sounds different for us than it does for them for some reason. Because I can hear myself and I could hear myself speaking, but they were like, "You're really quiet," and I was like, "Who?" Anyways, I don't understand. I don't understand. Anyway, so
Hey.
sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah. So when he was talking about Synthesis though, and it was like, I don't know why the word scrappy is coming to my mind. I know he didn't say she was scrappy, but he said she was scrappy. I'm just curious to see how that plays out. I'm also really excited to see, I mean, the previous episode when they called the event the Eye, that also got me really excited. But I don't know, it sounds beautiful. I can't wait till we actually see what it looks like. Hopefully in the next episode we'll be able to see all these explosions. Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, what are you guys expecting from that?
Industrial Light and Magic is really going to pop off with that one. We know that.
I'm kind of wondering if it'll be that scene that we kind of saw in like the trailer and some of the promotional stuff where it's Andor like in a TIE fighter flying through like just these beautiful bursts of light. There's not a good reason he would be in a TIE fighter in this scenario, but there are TIE fighters on the planet. We do know that. So I don't know. I'm very excited though, because it does sound very beautiful. It sounds like an Aurora Borealis type of situation, perhaps, but like in Star Wars. So I'm very excited.
I can see him in a TIE fighter if everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Just trying to get out of there.
Well, I think I think we will be seeing something, because in the trailers there was him flying and like explosions around him, and he was shaved, and that's when that trailer came. I was like,
You're right.
why is he all smooth? I don't like this. So
No.
but we don't know how it's all gonna play out.
No. But I think Sag might be right. It might just be like a getaway situation. If Claudia's theory of everyone dying in this mission comes true, it might be. I don't like to think of it, but it's definitely a possibility.
I do think it might also be a visual parallel of like it's gonna be like an explosion or whatever to like when the Death Star attacks Scarif. It's gonna be like that, and I'm gonna be very upset. I'm gonna be very upset. Sad. In this episode, they kept being like, "Yeah, and you might die fighting them," and I was like, "Shut up, we get it. We get it. Stop."
I apologize, Claudia. I want to try one last thing.
Sure.
From the looks of it, it looks like the actual driver on the microphone. Like, I think I can see it through the thing here, so it might actually be on the other side of the mic.
Oh, really? This is the front with the logo. Oh, here.
It looks like I can see it through the mesh. So try speaking to the opposite side of it, if possible.
You guys can keep talking. It's being weird. It's weird and not letting me turn it, so I have to listen to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the parallel though is those explosions are going to be going on around Cassian as he's escaping. I think something big is going to blow up at Mon Mothma's place, probably at whatever dinner party from hell her husband is planning. Have you guys seen Sly Moore? You can't look at that woman and tell me she's fun. You know what I mean? Like,
to your
No.
That's so dark.
I feel
I
like
was
he
kind
feels
of-
bad.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I feel like he feels a little bad because I felt like in that last scene he tried understanding her charity case and like he's not trying like he's trying to make an effort, but he's still like the bad guy. But I feel like they both have bad sides to him.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him.
Don't trust him.
It's like, well, here's the thing. In Rebels, okay, wait, how do I sound? Better? Different? No? Same?
Similar, but still not great. Yeah, I don't know why, but
Does this sound? Does this sound any better?
no, you sound like a robot.
Oh no, not this shit again. Okay, here, no, here, let's go.
But yeah, like you're saying, he did, make it seem like, how come you didn't tell me about this? And so it does make it seem like there might still be something there. On the little Andor later information that comes out, it talks about what they had was pretty much akin to an arranged marriage. So we don't know that there was truly anything. We don't know that there was truly anything there to begin with. And Pep says that sounds like it's the right side, but now we just need to turn down the gain.
No, I very much appreciate it. Is this any better? I've turned down the gain a bunch.
Maybe that may be down a little bit too far, but
Is that better?
yes.
Okay. Sorry, guys. It's fine, so I don't know. Does this sound normal? I don't know if it sounds normal to them though.
That sounded pretty normal.
All right, we'll see. Okay. Yeah. No, way too far. Okay.
She might also have the noise suppression from Restream enabled as well.
How do you turn it off on Restream?
Yeah, you should have the little gear icons for settings,
Is this better?
and then you can go to audio and turn it off.
Hello?
That is sounding better.
Okay, I turned off the echo and the noise suppression. Does this sound any better?
That sounds
Sounds-
100,000
Oh,
times better.
Perfect.
Wow, I love when technology is sometimes things that are expensive are worse.
No, you sound perfect now.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Sorry, guys. Anyways, we're talking about Ned Fulmer Mothma. I literally can't stop thinking about it.
I feel like they tried to give him maybe a little bit of credit by, sort of playing up that maybe Mon is not as around as much and maybe he has this resentment built up towards her. But I think that their dynamic is just kind of completely broken because it's like he's like, oh, you're never here. And she's like, well, even when I am here, you never care about why I'm not here. You never care about what I'm doing. And so they're just sort of like caught in the crossfire of one another. And then their child is like really just getting it from both sides. So I think that they kind of tried to make us feel for him a little more, but that whole dinner party situation, I'm just simply not ready to move past that. That was really dirty.
Yeah,
Really dirty.
yeah, it's just trying to slip it in under the wire there. I'm just wondering how long it's been like this, how much this is going on. I have my buddy Isaac in the chat. How in the world did Mon Mothma end up with that douche?
Mon Mothma, I would treat you right, girl. The queen, no. mean-
Parents still sucks. If if Mon Dem seems like that career woman, a lot of women get vilified for it.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what they're trying to, or maybe what like her husband is kind of trying to do, because it almost seems like he was trying to get the daughter on his side or whatever, like I'm gonna take her to the whatever she was going to do, since you're never around kind of moment.
Yeah.
And I think that Young is exactly right, that they're trying to like vilify the career woman in her, and it ain't working nearly as much as vilifying Perrin is.
I keep thinking about how in Rebels, when they finally have to evacuate Mon Mothma, like nobody comes with her. So what happens to her daughter? Is it that she has to hide everything from her family so they inevitably grow apart, and that's what they're showing, and then she just disappears and they think that, you know, she became a traitor or something? Or is it like she's doing this on purpose to protect them, so she's never told her daughter lots of things, obviously? I mean, Bale and Bria didn't tell Leia that much, but it does make me wonder, like, what happened to them. Yeah, and so Isaac said, I hate to say it, but I don't think her daughter is going to make it. Absolutely. I was like, I can also think that they may die. Absolutely. And that might be her reason to be like, okay, well, I'm also in danger. I gotta go. And I don't know. Oh, if Ned is Mothma's husband, who's Eugene? Bail Organa, obviously.
I love that.
Also, I got the super chat here, so I always appreciate it. But that quote, "The pace of repression outstrips our ability to understand it." That is the real trick of the Imperial thought machine.
There were so many good quotes like that. I was like, Tony Gilroy, you really had something to say. You had something to say.
The writing on the show is so good, and I have seen complaints, you know, that there's not enough action or anything like that, or it feels slow. What do you guys think about that?
I'm all for this. I love the way the show is going, and I know it's not the most action, but I feel like it makes up for it. Like, I don't think a show needs action to be good, and even if it's Star Wars, and I think this is just a prime example of it.
This show reminds me of watching A New Hope, because like you don't get a lot of action in that movie for the first hour. Like there's same scenes of like Luke sits down at the table, his aunt and uncle pour him like a blue milk. Like it's so slow. Like the thing that people always say is like the first movies, they're slow as hell. There's actually not that much. There's a lot of people who have talked about like people remember Star Wars through their child brain, because there's actually not that much like action. There's just like a couple very memorable sequences, and then the rest of the movie is like people talking in rooms, or like we're gonna walk across the desert for 10 minutes. Like Star Wars is incredibly slow a lot of the times, and like with the Clone Wars and stuff like that, oh yeah, we remember like the big moments or whatever, and I'm like, it was 7 seasons. Sometimes it was slow as hell, even when it was made for kids. Like, and I was like, where? I don't know where critics like that are getting this idea that it needs more action to even be Star Wars, but like, this is so on brand even for Star Wars. I'm like, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like you're exactly right. And I feel like Star Wars is still trying to kind of nail down the TV series kind of aspect, because that was a big major complaint of the Obi-Wan series, is like each individual episode felt some were better than others in the sense of they just flowed better. But if that would have been a movie, half of the complaints that people had with that show wouldn't have existed. And so I think that this is kind of mastering it, where it's like this 2 or 3 episode long build up to the big sequence, where it's like you've built enough tension to get people invested and excited, but it's not overbearing and just like no payoff for all of the like exposition, if that makes sense.
I've been seeing this with Marvel as well. And I think just the streaming landscape in general, because like the 8 episode streaming season thing is really, it's kicking people's ass. And then sometimes when they do like the 6 episode limited series, like Obi-Wan or like Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a lot like that. Like they were like, yeah, we're making a 6-part movie. And it's like, yeah, we can tell. That's why it's a mess sometimes. Like the reason this show is nice, and also why I've been enjoying She-Hulk more than like I thought I would, it feels like television. It feels like well-written television. It is using the medium of television well. And that's not to say that Star Wars has not done that before.
shout out to all of Star Wars animation, which knows what it's about. But I mean, and that is probably what has made those good too. Is like it uses the medium, and like I know that Marvel, the Daredevil show is going to be like 22 episodes a season. Like they're getting back to that slowly with streaming, and it's really nice to watch that happen. Because like to be for everything to be like, oh, it's a 6-part movie, it's a whatever. It's like you can. It's almost like we have to get back to like when like peak streaming TV started, like with House of Cards and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, you can have the big budgets and the big kind of pie in the sky basically of that TV can now be. It doesn't have to be secondary to movies, but it can also still be television and like be and like use that medium really well. And it took like they try to be movies so bad. And I'll say this, it's the thing I like about the Rings of Power too. I don't want to bring in that discussion, but I've been liking the Rings of Power because the girlies have so many complaints, but I'm like, it feels like good. It's television. I like that it's not and slow is such a bad word to use, but it's like nah, like there's shit happening. Like I don't know.
Especially if you saw the most recent episode. Oh my god.
Oh my god. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about it.
Whew, it ended with a bang, we'll say.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I that's a great way to put it because we've shifted into streaming services being, you know, the end all be all, and streaming services are closest to TV, but they still are their own thing. And I think a lot of these companies are still trying to figure out what that voice is, what that voice feels like. Specifically when it comes to the Star Wars shows, like Obi-Wan was originally pitched as a movie, right? Now we had COVID hit, and then the streaming service hit, and so they wanted if both that and Book of Boba Fett felt to me like we have plans for this movie, but theaters are going away. We're bringing on the streaming service. How do we take this and fit it here? This feels like it was made for this. This is the first one that it feels like it was actually designed for the streaming service with the right budget, right connections and stuff like that. And I actually feel the same way about She-Hulk as well. I feel like a lot of the other Disney Plus shows, they all shot them at the same time a long time ago. And then they've just slowly been coming out.
I would say the only exception would be Moon Knight, because that show actually, it was a limited like it was a like I don't know if they're going to do a season 2, if they were planning on doing a season 2, but it fit really well in its very short number of episodes. It used the medium. It felt like we are a limited series. We are writing it to be a limited series, not to be a 6-part movie, which was very different from the rest of some of the MCU shows. Also, yeah, we have not talked enough about how COVID has really kicked some of these shows' ass. Because, like, I give the Book of Boba Fett a hard time, but also, like, COVID really hurt. I try to be nice. Like, yeah. I mean, I will say, you said it was one of the first shows. I would say The Mandalorian also did this too, because the seasons are how many episodes? They're 12?
Yeah, they're 8. Yes.
8?
So
8 or 12.
I wasn't including the Mandalorian in it because the Mandalorian actually it was designed for this specifically. So I think it really, you know, does well with that. But yeah, you're right. And honestly, it does bug me when people complain about the pacing, because I think all of Star Wars has really bad pacing. Yeah. I don't think anything in Star Wars, and I love Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, A New Hope, half of the movie is robots in the desert, you know, as if they're Muppets on a balcony, hating everything and bickering. You know, Empire is a slow movie. I love it. It's my number 2. It's slow. It starts with the action, and then it gets really slow until the end. And then it's also kind of weird. Luke loses his hand, and then in the next scene he has it back, and they're like, "All right, let's go." And you're like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Like, this is Star Wars. We gotta lower our expectations. We gotta. Like, it's. I mean, I will say, like, the one thing in the Mandalorian, the one thing about the Mandalorian also is, much like this show, it was always conceived to be multiple seasons. And that's why they were like, we're taking our time. We're taking our time. And that comes with being, you know, the star, the number one girly, the favorite child of the company that is producing the show. Unfortunately, not every show gets that, which is really so annoying. But yeah, you can tell that they were like, yeah, obviously this is gonna be several seasons and we've got this planned out. You're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, let me ask you guys this question. So I think the Mandalorian is excellent. I think Andor is excellent. Um, do you think the fact that both of these are like new characters has something to do with it? And you aren't operating off of 40 plus years of fan fiction and headcanon might affect things. I don't know. I just feel like that's a really big part of it. A really big part of the reception of Obi-Wan was expectation versus reality. Um, and we also kind of see this in the Star Warsification of the Marvel fan base. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Definitely, and especially with Book of Boba Fett, everyone expected one thing and got one thing, and that really hurt, I feel like, for those fans that were expecting that. I didn't really know much about Boba Fett when I went into Book of Boba Fett, and I really enjoyed it. And then afterwards, seeing what everyone else had to say about it, I'm like, I wish I had that. And I think that altered my perspective on that show. But I think it's gonna be very difficult when we go into Ahsoka, because now we're getting to a point where Ahsoka is a character that people love and have expectations for, and it's also a newer character, so it's like right on the verge of where it's gonna land, and I'm worried how everyone might take it if it doesn't go in one direction versus another.
And I think what hurt Boba Fett and Obi-Wan is one, like Chaco said, like there's this huge expectation for the most iconic characters in Star Wars, and Kenobi kind of suffered because it was designed to be a movie cut up into a TV series, which isn't in and of itself a bad thing. That's why I think you have to have some grace when you watch these stories and say, like, okay, what was this story trying to portray? What was it trying to tell me? And maybe just move past, like, okay, so there's some weird pacing, or like, okay, so a character like punches a stormtrooper weird. Like, you just kind of have to suspend a little bit of disbelief to really get the most out of it. For me, Book of Boba Fett, it was like people's expectations mixed with he kind of got sidelined in his own show a little bit. I don't think that helped him. And I think if they had marketed it as like not Boba Fett's show, but a Boba Fett arc inside of The Mandalorian, that would have been way better like received, and I think that it would have flowed a lot better versus this is the Boba Fett show, because it really just didn't deliver as much on that as I think people were hoping. But that's just my 2 cents on it. I know people who love Book of Boba Fett, and I like it. I think it just the criticisms do revolve around sort of the pacing and the episodic nature of it is just odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's the expectations of the audience. Like, I don't think inherently having it star known characters is a bad thing. Like, I think that or is not a bad thing, but like is the reason that certain things failed. I think it's also more on the creator side as well. Like the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, you could tell from the marketing, because they wouldn't even. Yes, I get it. Not everyone has seen the animated shows. However, to the point where they refuse to acknowledge the existence of some of those characters, to the point where it got ridiculous. And I was like, this is so clearly just a marketing ploy so we can say, here you go, prequel fans. Here you go. Here's your food. And like, after a while, it was like, okay, like I'm having fun, but like, I do feel like you just made that, like people always get mad about cameos. I was like, I felt more like gross fan service from that than I did like from any like cameo showing up anywhere else. I was like, just from the marketing, they were like, oh, we know the memes and we know that this and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, this show was, and I think it comes for like the reasons why certain things are greenlit and whatever as well, because like The Mandalorian, it is just Rebels Part 2 Electric Boogaloo. It is Dave being like, another one, like whatever. However, he was like, I want to do this interesting thing. And I want to be able to keep telling stories about Mandalorians, but I'm going to do it with this other character. And I'm going to keep writing my fun little fan fiction, whatever. And the same thing with Andor was like, Tony Gilroy was like, okay, but like, let's think about this character. And Diego Luna was like, oh, I have so much to say about this man. I'm like, they had a lot to say about, and obviously some of this is just the PR story. We don't really know the real story behind the scenes, obviously. But like, there's some of this that I'm like, I think it also just has to do with like the reasons certain shows were made, and that goes into the production and like what goes into it and that kind of thing. And I think that's why like it goes. I mean, then we go back to the thing we were talking about before of like, yeah, this was a movie versus this is like gonna plan to be multiple seasons or whatever. Book of Boba Fett being an arc of the Mandalorian definitely would have been better. We talked about how it should have been like the Mandalorians, and it would just be a different arc or whatever. Next one could be about Sabine. Like having the Ahsoka show be a whole separate show was like, okay, but they're all connected, and it's hard for people to follow. Like it should just okay, all right, that's fine. But also having it be like a movie, like a for streaming movie, I think that would have banged. I think that would have been fun. But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know that it's a legacy character. I do also think from the creative side, like from a writer perspective, if they go into it as like, oh my god, it's a legacy character, I have to do certain things, whether that's whoever that's coming from. When they're new characters, but they're clearly bringing in a lot of other stuff, they're writing a little Star Wars fan fiction, and so they're having more fun with it, and they're able to think about it from a good writing perspective and not from a I have to do this character right perspective.
And also what I was saying about the legacy characters, I think also part of it comes down to just the fan perception. So specifically Obi-Wan, I keep seeing people say, "Oh, this was marketed as like the Vader and Obi-Wan show." I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was
marketed like that?
And they're like, "Oh, but it's gonna have Clone Wars flashbacks," and you're like, they didn't say that. No one said this. They said this was about
Screen
a
Rant
man.
said that for 2 years, but that doesn't count.
But and that's what I mean about the expectations, because people like me, like us, content creators, will get a wild hair up our ass and start running with this what we want, and that can potentially saturate the market and make everyone believe it's going to be something else. And you're looking, you're expecting water, and what you get is Sprite, so you spit it out, even if you like Sprite. Like it's just wasn't the expectation. But I think that's Andor's strong suit. Is meant to be Andor. This is the story that they're telling. Mando season 2 felt like it got lost amongst a bunch of backdoor pilots for other Filoni-verse shows. But this isn't that. This is, we have this character, we have the story, we have this journey, and this is what we want to tell. And I don't know, I just feel a lot of heart in this, and I really love it.
I definitely want to add to that. It shows how much power creators and also media sources have over the fans' perspective of these stories. Like the way you said it, yeah, content creators definitely have a lot of sway. If one person says a theory and then that theory goes viral, like I can see how it could affect the way that many people think.
Yeah. I watched Alex from Star Wars Explained his video on Andor, and he was talking about how like he had an improv teacher who said the longer you wait to tell a joke, the less funny it becomes, because you really have to, if you make people wait 30 seconds, it's got to have to be a really good joke. So I kind of feel like that is what we've got going on. Like here is we're building this up and we're making it really good, but the thing is that also lets people like run amok with their like theories, because we're giving it time to breathe. And if you don't immediately deliver on those things, people's expectations just kind of get in the way of thinking that it's good, or that it didn't like deliver simply because they had to wait a little bit longer for that. So I do think that TV shows probably suffer a lot more from that, because when you go in to see like the Last Jedi or the Rise of Skywalker or whatever, it's like, okay, that's a 2.5 hour thing, you know everything that happens, versus these episodic moments, it's like you have to spend like a week like rocking back and forth in your chair trying to come up with something, and then when you see it, you're like, well, that's not what I had imagined. So I think it leaves a little more time for us like worm brains to stew and get each other riled up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have an aneurysm waiting for the next episode of Andor, but we only have 1 week. I know next week is gonna be a banger. And,
It's
and
gonna be
I just need it.
so. I feel like there's also this issue, and this might be my it's capitalism card for the day, but like, especially, I mean, Disney does this a lot with Star Wars and Marvel, but I feel like all the girlies are trying to do this where they will announce something so far ahead when it is just firmly into development. So like it'll change release dates and the girlies will be like, oh, do they not like fill in character? And you're like, no, like this is just a normal part of the production and development process. Like people's schedules change and creative differences happen. Like that's normal. It's fine. And they announce projects and they're like, this is the schedule and these are the things happening, and people are talking and ruminating about it for literally years at a time. And like for Marvel and Star Wars, they're like, that's a part of the marketing. That's a part of it marketing itself. I get it. But also, they gotta stop announcing. Like, yeah, I love when they announce things at cons too, but like, maybe stop announcing some things. Even if they leak, oh well, maybe stop announcing things until it gets a little closer. Like, don't be like Netflix where we don't start marketing it until like 2 weeks before, but like, maybe stop announcing things like 3 years in advance. I'm so tired.
which is funny because they announced Star Wars Visions, and then we got nothing, and then they're like, it comes out in 3 weeks, and you're like, what? And then like, here it is, and you're like, oh, and that kind of worked for me. So I do agree with that. But also, I wanted to come back to something Sag you said earlier, is when we were talking about like the creator's expectation and how someone can make a theory and people run with that. So that's why I know sometimes I can seem rigid in explaining like canon stuff, but like sometimes there's wrong stuff and then people latch on to that and then they get mad when the wrong stuff doesn't happen.
Don't apologize. You're doing God's work. Don't apologize, because sometimes people say things I'm like, girl, what are you saying?
Yeah. So I had to leave a live that Sog was in because people kept saying weird stuff. No, the Jedi don't force you to change your name when you join, and like there's just like, oh, they messed up because they were going to make this person a gray Jedi, and you could tell because they have a purple lightsaber, and you're like, all of that was never going to happen. I gotta go, that type of thing.
I don't have the strength to deal with people who are like, what about a gray? Stop. We can't keep having this discussion.
Oh man, but yeah, but going back to Andor, I think we pretty much covered most of the episode. I gotta say though, it really makes me like hate the Empire even more with just little things like, oh, there's people walking, I'm gonna fly my TIE fighter like near, like, come on man, that is not necessary.
It's giving very much. It's giving very much like NYPD, who don't follow parking rules, or like who just stand like a ton of them in the. You can tell I live in New York City. They just stand a ton of them in a subway station wearing no masks, just hanging out there just to be obnoxious. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how they act. Completely.
And then like when they were commenting on like how they would smell, or like, could you imagine 40 of them or whatever? And he was like, oh, believe me, I could. I was just like, oh my God, like, please.
Yeah.
It's really, frustrating to see that sort of, but it's also like it's getting the point across. Like it's supposed to be frustrating, but it's also like it's not going to stop me from being super angry about it.
Also, so we get the story of, you know, the one character's brother who the prefecture or whatever came in, he flooded his farm, ruined the livelihood and what he's been doing forever, and he ended up, you know, taking his own life. And things like that have happened. You know, that's not, it's not even uncommon. But we also got to see a brief moment back on the planet Andor just came from, where they're like, "Oh, this building, this will just be our new headquarters," and he's like, "Okay, and I'll run it. Can you give me this title?" I'm like, "Sure, whatever. I don't care." They don't care about any of the stuff or how it's going to affect anyone. Who, I don't care whose hotel that was, what building, you know, what how it's going to displace the people. And they better not mess with Bix. All right, Bix better be okay.
Please. I know she's not gonna survive, but I'm still very emotionally attached to her.
I think she could make it. I think that she is like most, I think, has been presented to be one of these like super rugged, like battle damaged sort of characters. I think she could make it. If anyone in Andor is going to make it, my money is probably on Vix.
No, I will say, because I'm a Thrawn girly, when Deidre and her little assistant were doing their little tracking of shipping manifest, I was like, oh, okay, I was like, this is my one fangirling for the Empire moment. It's a Thrawn and Eli moment, everybody. Because I was like, that is something, when she goes, she's like, if I was doing this, that's exactly what I would do. And I was like, oh, Thrawn moment is happening right now. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel crazy.
I think that's like my favorite thing about Thrawn is that he like out empires the Empire. You know what I mean? Like he is like, the Empire is my means to an end. Like you guys are nothing to me. I'll serve you while I'm here, but like the moment I'm trying to be gone, I'm out. So I love that for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this was like totally a Thrawn moment when they're like, it's too random to be random. And you're like,
I was like,
yeah,
Eli Vanto, you would have loved this.
It's absolutely a thing. If it's something is random, then there'll be clusters. You know, yeah, beautiful writing and foreshadowing. One thing, someone, all right, so we have a friend who has a podcast where they analyze Star Wars music. It's Star Wars Music Minute. Amazing. Xanthi Tan is just incredible. But the thing that they ruined all of Deidre's moments for me, and I'm going to ruin it for you. For some reason, there's a lot of triangle in all of her scenes. Every single one of her scenes, there's someone just like ding, ding, with the triangle. And once I put that in your head, you will never forget it, and you will only hear that every time you see it.
Oh my gosh, that's like I'm gonna ruin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, by Usher. There's also a very invasive triangle in that song, and once I heard it, I never unheard it. So maybe, you know, triangle is just one of those instruments that maybe once someone points it out to you, it's like you're never the same.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to ramp up because I think it's a terrible sound. I think it's supposed to ramp up like your anxiety, you know, to show that she's under this pressure, and it's almost like a water torture sound, you know. But yeah, and then the Young says, I love music analysis. Check out Star Wars Music Minute. It's with Xanthi Tan, and they are incredible. They've come over here a few times. Going to have them back over at the end to go through all of this music, but yeah, definitely check them out. But yeah, so that's pretty much the whole episode. Do you guys have any final thoughts, any nuggets or pieces of dialogue or something that we missed? Yeah, I mean, what do you guys feel?
We did it, gays. We did it.
I think my favorite piece of dialogue that really sort of like very topically relevant to this show as well as real life is the line. It had something to do with like, 40 atrocities are easier to forget than one. And I think that's
Yes.
where the Empire thrives, and I think that that's where the rebellion is sort of attacking from. Is no, like, the axe forgets but the trees remembers. Every single one of these atrocities, we're here to represent all of them and make sure that they're accounted for. And I thought that was really, really great and a super good synopsis for like not only this episode but just like Star Wars and life in general.
Yeah.
Going off of, oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay. Going off of that, yeah, you don't really know how bad the Empire is on this scale, like the 40 atrocities thing, but like if when you start delving into those single them out, you get to see how bad it really is and how everyone's being impacted. Like even in the Ahsoka novel, you get to see that, and that was like brilliant to see how individuals and their whole livelihoods are torn apart by a single decision by someone who really doesn't care.
Yeah.
It was very. I saw somebody be like, "Yeah, that's kind of exactly like, I mean, what happens in real life right now. I mean, right now, but also in any oppressive state. Like, but especially like right now, where for the past, I don't know how many years, and also just not just the past few years, but also just now that especially we have social media and we're like, oh wow, I am seeing every atrocity that is happening to every kind of person across the world, and I feel like I can't do anything. And you're like, yeah, that's on purpose. That's on purpose, so that you won't say anything because you feel overwhelmed. And I was like, damn, all right, Tony Gilroy, go in. All right.
Yeah, there's bits of this that are very very on the nose. So that's one thing, because I feel like the sequel trilogy was like that as well. And I also I imagine some of the distaste for certain things was because certain people were being represented, just not on the good people's side. And then you get that cognitive dissonance going on. But that's neither here nor there. All right, so we will go ahead and wrap this up with by having we're going to go around one more time, have everyone let us know where we can find you and all of your awesome content, and then we'll also close out with another lightning round question. This one is, I want you to grab any character in Star Wars, pluck them out, put them into another IP, another universe. It could be a game, it could be whatever. Who are you taking where? And my favorite one of these that I heard was taking Hondo Onaka and putting him in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's so good. That's so
It's
good.
good.
That would be the best thing. And like after hearing that, I was like, okay, I gotta ask this question more, because I know there's gotta be some really, really good answers. But yeah, so, and also everyone here in the chat, you feel free to shout yours out as well. Take anyone from Star Wars and put them in another IP, and let me know which. But yeah, we will start off with Sog.
Okay, I'm Star Wars Sog. You can find me on TikTok at SW_Sog. And I am still thinking about this question. I don't know. You might have to come back to me.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll come back. We'll come back to you. But we also have Young who's agreeing. Hondo and Star Lord back and forth would be amazing. Let's go to Claudia. I feel like you already got something in the tank.
Oh, I do. I have many actually, but hi. I'm Claudia. I'm one of the co-hosts of RuPaul's Pod Race. You can find us in any podcast app. You can follow me at Kaludia Says anywhere, but go listen to RuPaul's Pod Race. I'm also the co-host of the Mystery Spotcast, which is my other co-host from RuPaul's Pod Race, Ollie. We decided to force ourselves to rewatch all of Supernatural, not because the show is good or that we like it. I mean, because it's Stockholm syndrome. So basically, we're rewatching it so other people don't have to. So we really don't want anybody else to watch it. So just listen to us tell you what happens, and I promise that's all you'll ever need. If you're ever like, why do people like this terrible show? You can listen to our podcast instead of watching 15 seasons and taking a brick to your head. I promise it's very funny. You don't have to know anything about Supernatural to listen to it. It's a wild and fun time. It's rewatching the show. It gives me I take such psychic damage
Still
for you
pass.
people. I take just psychic damage for you people. Yeah, it's called the Mystery Spotcast. It's a fun time. But anyways, who would I take? There was somebody on Twitter who was like, "Oh, what two characters from opposite like things do you think would be friends?" And I said Toru Honda from Fruits Basket because I'm watching Fruits Basket right now, and Gara Zebarelios. But I don't have time to unpack all of that. But because I always talk about.
Also, I don't have time to cry, so no Fruits Basket.
Oh, Fruits Basket, my bestie and also my enemy. Because I always talk about the High Republic, and because on RuPaul's Pod Race, if you know us, our number one thing is Midnight Horizon. Daniel Jose Older, you are our bestie. All we do is talk about Comac Vitus. So I would want to put Comac Vitus into Full Metal Alchemist. I think he'd have a great time there. There's many books on alchemy that he would have a great time reading. And maybe when he ran into the woods, he went to a mistress instead. I think he would have figured out the whole deal of what was going on there far faster because he's so Yas and so sly. I think him and Roy Mustang would not get along, and it would be very fun.
I would love to see those two together. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I think if Jess were watching this or any of my co-hosts, they'd be like, "Claudia, shut the fuck up about Full Metal Alchemist." But it's just I have to be stopped. Anyways, but that's mine.
It is a fantastic show. I highly recommend it. We will hit some of the people in chat. All right, so I got Han Solo to Airwolf, and that is such a deep cut. I don't think I've ever truly watched Airwolf. I just remember it being on when I was little. But that's jumping all the way back to the 80s. We got Darth Maul in Assassin's Creed. That would be good. Yoda in Lord of the Rings. I think that would be amazing. People would be like, "Are you some type of goblin? Like, what happened, man?"
He's just a really ugly hobbit.
Like, did he get burned? Like, what? B2 EMO in the Pixar universe. Yeah, I could see that. Somewhere in Wally or something rolling around.
Who said Castiel in Star Wars? Get that out of here. Get it out. Listen, we already have Castiel in Star Wars. They're just Calazeb. They're the same. It's the same story. I've spoiled all of Supernatural for you. It's the same story as Callus and Zeb. It literally is.
We got one. You shut your mouth. Supernatural is dope.
You are such a warrior. You're a warrior for saying that.
But Chris is saying taking Lando and putting him in Ocean's 11.
So good.
I watch the hell out of that. That sounds awesome. Palps and House of Cards.
He is a political mastermind. We'll give him that.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
I would love a political thriller like that in Star Wars universe. That would be so cool.
It would be.
I feel like we're getting there with the Mon Mothma stuff.
I was about to say maybe Andor will deliver. I think so.
I'm just saying you could probably take out Kevin Spacey and drop in Palps, and it'd still be the same show.
Also, Bo
less
Willimon,
problematic.
Yeah, Bo Willimon from House of Cards is writing several episodes of Andor. And I bet those are going to be the dinner party episodes or the more Mon Mothma centric episodes. Because I was like, we're getting the House of Cards vacation. We are. It's happening.
Nice. I'm down. Bix and Horizon Zero Dawn. I could see her as the the rugged but beautiful mechanic that like fixes your your robot hunting gear or something. And then Andor in Pirates of the Caribbean. But yeah, so before going to Allison, we're gonna come back to Sog and make him say his.
I'm gonna flip the script, but the Mythbusters in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, that's so good.
Ooh.
Who would host it? Like 2 new characters, or would it be like?
I feel like you would have to. I was thinking of putting like a good, like well-known duo into it, but I was like, it won't work.
Maybe why can't I think of her name off the top of my head? Vader Comics. Afra.
Afra?
Oh,
yeah.
that would be awesome.
Afra might be really good in a Mythbusters and Star Wars.
That's her little podcast that she does.
Awesome. I like that. All right. Last but not least, we have Allison.
Okay. This is my name here on TikTok. That's where you can usually find me. That's where I'm the most active. I do have like a link tree with all my other socials, but TikTok is my main gig, and it's Allison of Dathomir with a Y, so that's fun. I've had the most time to sit with this question, and I think that I know we've had a lot of Thrawn talk tonight. Like, there's been a lot of Thrawn intercourse, but I have to pick Thrawn and put him into the Doctor Who universe.
Oh, this is my Winter Soldier trigger word.
because I mean, you can't tell me that Thrawn wouldn't be as like kooky and wacky and sort of fun as the Doctor, but he would have the like detective skills. I feel like people want to think that he's like Sherlock in space, but Doctor Who is more of a Thrawn energy in the sense that almost every conclusion that they come to is such a reach that like the Doctor's the only person who can get to it, and like Thrawn is usually the only person who can come to the conclusions in their investigations.
I had a realization a while ago that Thrawn and the Doctor, they basically have the same backstory. They're basically the same character.
They're basically the same character.
Where they're like,
right.
yeah, I used to be like big and up and coming on my planet, and then I did do an oopsie. I did not follow some rules.
Bad.
I was a war criminal for a hot second in several ways. And like I feel like the Doctor is like, maybe if Thrawn turned it around, eventually he's like,
yeah.
He's like, am I a little gay? Am I also autistic? Am I really good at solving mysteries? Do I like the color blue? Yes. These are all things. Does he get along really well with children? Absolutely. Does he have a name that nobody can pronounce? Absolutely. They're the same fucking character. It's just,
I'm glad we
it's just
agree.
a different font.
Yeah.
Like Thrawn
Definitely.
he needs to go through his little time war arc, and then maybe he'll stop committing war crimes. Maybe.
Also, my brain was like wanted to put Han Solo into something, and I was like, what about like Han Solo as Indiana Jones? And then I was like, that's just Indiana Jones.
I had the same thought.
Indiana Jones. So that was a flop. I can't do that one. My bad.
So I mean, I when you mentioned Thrawn, my first thought was putting Thrawn in Criminal Minds and just I don't know, it'd just be funny.
That would be so funny.
But the actual one that I want to do is Dexter Jetster in the Great British Bake Off.
That's so.
That's
I
so
think-
niche, but so good.
It's so good. Someone said Sana Staros and Firefly. That's inspired. That's inspired. Oh,
I was loving someone said Hondo Onaka and Pawn Stars. That's where he would thrive.
or an
Honestly.
Antiques Roadshow. No, Dr. Afra and Antiques Roadshow.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
Awesome.
I love Dexter Jetster. He's so. If we're on Coruscant, I better see Dexter Jetster. I need to see him now. He better still be alive.
I mean, the only thing I fully require is that someone says Padme's name at some point in time. That's really just what I need. But
We must speak her name.
She was really. I mean, I need Bail Organa to show up. I need him to show. This is the West Wing. Come on, we need him to show up. and then I need them to mention Padme. It's like, yeah, this is Mon Mothma's moment. Yeah, Padme was very important to her. It would make sense. Come on, guys. Come on.
I can.
But good.
I was just gonna say I can see someone at the dinner party like dropping her name in a negative light, and then her like reacting to it because
Ooh.
Mothma
It
like
is a lot of-
squares
Don't
up.
put that in this universe, man.
I also, it would be cool because in the Leia Princess of Alderaan novel, when they talk about how the Organas throw these dinner parties as a cover, it would be very cool if we could go to one of those dinner parties. Ugh, please, Andor season 2, please.
Absolutely. But all right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for this. This is a lot of fun. I always love unpacking and breaking these down and getting as many new people to come on here as possible. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you everyone in the chat for hanging out. We have Pep with Died in the Force. We have Chillin' in the Basement, Obi Sean Kenobi. We got Young in the chat. We got Chris Star Wars Lawyer. We got Isaac Church in the chat. Saint Pat, and just a lot of awesome people. Darth R2 was in here for a little bit as well. Love hanging out with everyone. Kenna Witty. Always appreciate the support. Love hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for joining. But that's the end. And may the Force be with you always.